first phase is our survey that is currently going right now. And then the next phase, we're going to start the interview. The third phase is quantifying the alpha-gal content in various food products. This mice model is actually the last phase of this research, which is a 2-year project.
Kansas State University is supporting efforts to cultivate awareness and resilience against AGS, alpha-gal syndrome, a potentially life-changing allergy to red meat and other mammal-derived products triggered by a bite from the Lone Star tick. K-State professor in the Department of Entomology, Yoonseong Park, associate professor in the Department of Animal Science and Industry, Michael Chao, and extension assistant professor in food, nutrition, dietetics, and health, Priscilla Brenes, want to better understand the prevalence of AGS in Kansas and the challenges faced by those living with this condition. On today's Sound Living, Understanding AGS. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wickman. Chao explains how the 3 researchers came together to work on this project.
I teach a lot of different classes, especially meat science classes. And I start hearing a lot of students begin to talk about that. Hey, my grandpa has it. Hey, I know some friends that have it. And then it really started catching my attention because I'm a meat scientist. How I really got connected with Yoonseong is one day Yoonseong was presenting at the biochemistry seminar on campus, and I went over to listen to his presentation. And that's what I really learned a lot about the biochemical pathway and the mechanism of this alpha-gal syndrome. And then immediately after his presentation, I emailed him, and then we really got connected from there and start designing this project about how can we actually help people in Kansas with alpha-gal syndrome. But none of us actually know or have any ideas of understanding the general community in Kansas. So we talked about, okay, we probably need someone that can help us to survey and understand the prevalence of alpha-gal syndrome in Kansas. And that's how we found Priscilla. And we put together a grant proposal to the Kansas Global Food System Initiative, and we're lucky enough to get funded.
And Priscilla, you, I guess, probably got the ball rolling then by doing the surveys?
Yeah, we started doing surveys with extension agents. And one of the things I wanted to, when I discussed with Dr. Chao and Dr. Park, was that some people in the southeast area in Kansas have reached out to me asking about alpha-gal syndrome. So when they came to me, I was like, oh, yeah, this is starting to be a problem in Southeast. So we sent an email to all agents in K-State Research and Extension, and we got about 144 responses from agents. And the majority, recognize that there is not information about AGS and that they would like to have more information, know more about the topic and how to educate people in their community.
And to kind of just follow up on what I was talking about the project, this project really is divided into 4 different phases. And the first phase is sending out surveys to extension agents, to the community members to understand the prevalence. And then the second phase is that we're going to interview the rural community members with the alpha-gal syndrome to understand the challenges that they're facing with this particular issue. The third and fourth phases are a little bit more unique because as a meat scientist, at the end of the day, we want to help people to reintroduce meat into their diet. So the third phase and the fourth phase, really our goal is to use these specific mice model that they have been genetically modified to be very similar to human. And then we're going to put tick saliva in them to make them basically get alpha-gal syndrome. And then we are going to quantify all these different meat products like hot dog, steak, jerky, you name it. And we feed them to these mice that's been genetically modified and then record their response to eating them. So this way we can find a better relationship between eating red meat and the response to it. And hopefully we can use that information to help people to reintroduce red meat into their diet when they're ready for it, of course.
And this is all linked to ticks then, right?
Yeah. So tick bites, specifically Lone Star tick, having small white dot on the back is the causal factor. So every year, just this tick in Kansas start to be active around early April, so which is just a start of spring. So from that time, just a tick bite, especially those Lone Star tick bite, is the causal factor of that. Not every tick bite is causing the problem, but about 10% or less number of percentage of people bitten by tick can potentially having those AGS developing.
Do we know, is this an immediate reaction or is this something that happens over time from the tick bite?
Yeah, most of the cases so far, the record tells about 1 month of delay is the most common cases, but some cases in a week, they started to show this symptom as well. So far, the AGS has not been really well known, and the study is not yet complete. So in earlier days, in early 2000, probably this AGS start to be more commonly known, and even health officials did not know about this AGS at the time. And up to now, believe it or not, most of AGS patients has been diagnosed after 7 years of having those symptoms occurring. So some people are highly sensitive, even vaporized cooked meat can be causing the problem. Any minute amount of material orally obtained can cause problem. Some people are not very sensitive, and they can have some levels of meat, and they do not feel comfortable in stomach. So that is also some very tolerable cases of AGS as well.
One thing that we have noticed so far is that not all meat products or all food products, they have the same amount of this carbohydrate alpha-gal that's in there. So part of our goal for this phase 3 is that we can quantify the amount of this alpha-gal in the different meat product. So knowing that some people that may, over time, they may get less and less sensitive to this alpha-gal, and then we can probably help to reintroduce a product into their diet that has much lower alpha-gal level to help their system to get comfortable with the alpha-gal system to help them reintroduce it into their diet.
Is it safe to say that this is essentially an allergy then?
Yes, it is a sort of allergy. The immune system response is exactly same as the allergic response. So like other allergy having various different levels of sensitivity, people have all different sensitivity levels to this red meat. Adding those symptoms or adding to the symptoms of AGS, we were talking about some cases of highly sensitive. So in that case, the problem of highly sensitive people have problems in many other medical problems because, first of all, some of medical products is kind of unknowingly having alpha-gal coating or medical pill contains those alpha-gal containing. So that's one problem. And also some cases heart valve transplantation and also heart transplantation has been the major problem just for this alpha-gal issue there.
So, Priscilla, I'm assuming that one of the things you're looking at, too, is from the nutritional side. If they're having to, for however long, go without red meat, what are things that they can have that will give them the same nutrition?
Yes, absolutely. And like Dr. Park said, like it's a type of allergy, so we will treat it as a normal allergy. So like if somebody has an allergy to peanuts, they will not eat peanuts. And people that have alpha-gal have to restrict so many food items. It's important to consider how sensitive they are and how restrictive they have to be with their diets because we still need to get all of our essential nutrients for our bodies to function optimally. So somebody that has alpha-gal, if they cannot have dairy products, then they might have a concern with calcium. So what other food sources are there that provide calcium in their diet? And maybe increase a little bit more of those. So nutritionally speaking, the best thing somebody with AGS can do is to keep a food journal. To journal what they're eating, what are their symptoms, and then talk to a healthcare professional about it.
Is that one of the things you're looking for as you continue to gather more information is what type of symptoms people are having to find out if there is an early sign that this could be happening?
Absolutely. But of course, with people, it's harder to get information from them because we're not going to be monitoring a person and like, hey, what did you eat today? And there are a lot of variations in that. But with the mice model I was talking about, we have full control because we know exactly what we feed them. And we can draw blood from them without their consent and knowing how do they actually react to things. So it would be a easier model for us to better understand that relationship versus actually following people that has AGS.
When do you expect that process to start?
I would say either at the end of this year or early next year.
A few more things you need to do in between?
Yes, like I mentioned, first phase is our survey that is currently going right now. And then the next phase, we're going to start the interview. The third phase is quantifying the alpha-gal content in various food products. So this mice model is actually the last phase of this research, which is a 2-year project.
Nice that you got the funding to move forward with it, too.
Yes, that's probably the most important part. Without the funding, it is very, very difficult to get the survey rolling because in this case, we have the funding to provide incentives for people to fill out their survey, which I think we had really, really great results in terms of turn back from the extension survey we got so far.
Yeah, we got great result from the extension agents. And now we're asking our extension agents and people in the community to share our other survey that's going to go to the community as a whole. So like if somebody has AGS or knows somebody with AGS, filling out that survey will be really helpful to know, what are their needs, what are the education that they have been receiving. Because one of our goals, too, is to provide education to the community about this issue.
In a perfect world, if everything went like you hope it goes, what would the end result be? Would it be some sort of medication that people could take? Or what are you hoping maybe is the end result?
So there are 2 separate goals for this particular project. The first goal really is to understand which part of the states needs the most resources. So we would share our findings with Kansas Department of Health and Environment. And so hopefully they can better allocate resources, like letting them know there are allergists at these areas that they can go to, or provide more resources on how do you better manage your nutritional needs for people who have AGS. And then for our second goal, by understanding that relationship, our goal is to help the health professionals to have a good estimate on when is a good time they can actually help reintroduce that red meat back into their diet. Because at the end of the day, I know Priscilla talked a lot about different alternatives to red meat, but nutritionally, there's very, very few items that you can truly replace red meat. And it's also a social thing that when you go to a gathering, you have red meat products out there and you just can't have any of them. It's really a bummer for the person who is trying to enjoy themselves, right? So that's really our end goal for this smaller project that we're currently working on right now. Dr. Park is heading a second project that he has put together.
Yeah, second project is more like medical aspect as well. The first thing is whether we can make removal of alpha-gal. Can we make? There are some enzyme-mediated work we can do in the laboratory in a small test tube. We currently test them, and that can be potentially just in the future industrialized for mass production of a desired product. And also, right now, our research activity goes beyond of Kansas level, so national level. We work with North Carolina and Kentucky and New York collaborators to understand better how this can be prevented and treated.
That's K-State professor in the Department of Entomology, Yoonseong Park, associate professor in the Department of Animal Science and Industry, Michael Chao, and extension assistant professor in food, nutrition, dietetics, and health, Priscilla Brenes, with information on AGS. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wickman, and this is the K-State Radio Network.